Hello, my name is HQ of HQ Reacts. Welcome to my channel. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button, share the stream, and click the notification button for new content.
Hey everybody, hey everybody, hey everybody. Wow, it's been an explosive week. But then again, I told you this would always be an explosive administration because of all the things that would come out. Good afternoon, good afternoon. This Trump White House, right? You all see the moniker. Trump knows he is breaking the law. He knows that. The Trump administration spent years in 2027, 2028, 2029, this year, pounding one talking point into the American public's brain. Everything we do is legal, according to the Trump administration. Everything we do is legal. Every abuse of power, every norm shattered, every rule bent to the breaking point was waved away with the same hollow refrain. We are perfectly legal. And yet here we are, yet again, watching the very same administration circle the wagons around pardons. This is what we have in the news today. Here we go. Hold on. This is what we got in the news today. Trump is already discussing preemptive pardons for his lawless administration. Now, this is cool. I mean, it's cool, right? Because Biden did the same thing. I'm going to give it to you that Biden did the same thing. Preemptive pardon. Trump is already discussing preemptive pardons for his lawless administration because of the Hegseth deal with the shooting of the boats. We, the American public, the ones that are paying attention, the ones that are really paying attention, already know that this was an illegal act that was done. Let me read a little bit. Since he was sworn back into the office nearly a year ago, Donald Trump and several administration officials have already informally discussed the idea of preemptively pardoning an array of Trump advisors, policymakers, and others who the president believes will likely be criminally investigated once the Democrats are back in power. 3 sources with knowledge of this matter tells Zito. Okay. The source stresses the conversations, some of which include Trump, some of which were just among senior aides of the Trump administration, federal appointees, and Republicans close to the White House, have been sporadic and preliminary, these talks. Okay. They're not going to worry about any kind of pardons until the Democrats get into office. And that's fine. That's fine. But you have to know that these you have to know that they're going to start doing investigations on you. You're going to have to, you have to know that, right? So the central hypocrisy of the Trump era has been laid bare this week. You don't need pardons Nobody needs pardons unless you're acting unlawfully. That would be the only reason that you would need pardons. You do not need legal immunity if your hands are clean. And you certainly do not need to sell pardons financially, politically, or personally if justice was on your side. Pardons in this next context are not compassion. They are confessions without the words. Okay. What makes this especially crazy and damning is that Trump has normalized the idea that pardons are transactional. Loyalty is rewarded. Silence is bought. You know they're gonna pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Y'all do know that, right?
Shield is gone. The immunity is over. And for the first time in his life, the man who treated the American legal system like a subsidiary of his personal brand is facing the one thing capital cannot buy: consequences. You have seen the headlines screaming about 10 years in prison. You have seen the panic filing from his legal team, the desperate appeals to the Supreme Court, and the sudden realization that the presidency, the ultimate asset in his portfolio, has depreciated to zero. But if you think this is just a story about one man, one judge, or one jail cell, you are missing the much bigger, much darker picture. This isn't just a legal update, it is a stress test for the entire structure of American power. We are watching a collision between the rule of law and the rule of capital, and for the first time in decades, we don't know which side is going to win. I want you to look past the sensationalism for a moment. I want you to look past the mugshots and the polls. I want us to look at the economics of impunity, because what is happening in that New York courthouse and what is brewing down in DC is not just about sentencing a former president. It is about answering a question that affects your rent, your wages, and your standing in this society. Is the law a contract that binds us all, or is it merely a luxury good that protects the assets of the few while disciplining the labor of the many? Let's be very clear about what has officially happened here, because the mechanics matter. The transfer of power has occurred. With J.D. Vance assuming the office, Donald Trump has reverted to the status of a private citizen. In economic terms, he has lost his regulatory capture. The Department of Justice policy that shields a sitting president from prosecution, a policy that effectively grants a 4-year monopoly on immunity, no longer applies. Judge Juan Merchan in New York has reportedly looked at the calendar, looked at the statute, and decided that the unconditional discharge or endless delays that Trump's team banked on are no longer valid. The sentencing for those 34 felony convictions is back on the docket. And simultaneously, the federal election interference case in D.C. has roared back to life. Without the executive branch to hide behind, prosecutors are pushing for a speedy sentencing that, legally speaking, could result in over a decade behind bars. The market for delay has crashed. Trump's legal team is now claiming residual immunity, which is a fancy legal term for the idea that once you have held power, you should never really have to answer to the same laws as the people who scrub the floors or drive the trucks. But why does this matter to you? Why should you, watching this while maybe worrying about your own bills or your own job security, care about the procedural motions of a billionaire politician? You should care because this situation exposes the machinery of class privilege in a way we rarely get to see. Think about how the legal system works for you. If you miss a rent payment, the eviction notice doesn't wait for a Supreme Court appeal. If you are late on a car payment, the repo man doesn't care about your residual immunity. If you are caught with a small amount of a controlled substance, the sentencing guidelines are mandatory and brutal. For the working class, the law is an efficient, automated machine of extraction and punishment. It works quickly. It works ruthlessly. But for the capital class, for people like Donald Trump, the law is something else entirely. It is a negotiation. It is a war of attrition where the weapon is money and the battlefield is time. What we have witnessed over the last few years wasn't justice delayed, it was justice financialized. Trump used the legal system the same way a hedge fund uses a complex derivative, to leverage time, confuse the market, and push the inevitable losses into the future. We have to understand the background of how we got to this precipice. This didn't start with the hush money case or even January 6th. This started with a decades-long erosion of corporate and political accountability. We built an economy where too big to fail became the governing philosophy not just for banks, but for individuals. We allowed a system to develop where if you steal $100, you go to jail, but if you steal a pension fund, you get a settlement. If you lie on a job application, you get fired. If you lie to the SEC or the FEC, you pay a fine that amounts to a rounding error on your quarterly returns. Trump is simply the avatar of this system. He is the end product of a culture that divorced power from responsibility. He operated on the assumption that the law was a transaction cost, not a moral boundary. And for 70 years, he was right. The system rewarded him. Banks kept lending to him despite the bankruptcies. Networks gave him airtime despite the lies. The courts allowed him to settle fraud cases without admitting guilt. He was the ultimate beneficiary of a two-tiered society where the rules are written by the owners for the owners. Now, suddenly the bill has come due. The credit line of impunity has been maxed out, and that is why the panic you are seeing from his team is so visceral. It's not just fear of prison, it's the existential shock of a protected class realizing that the protection might have an expiration date. When they argue for residual immunity, they are essentially arguing that the presidency is a form of permanent aristocracy. They are trying to establish a precedent that says once you enter the ruling class, you can never truly be demoted back to the status of a regular citizen. If that argument holds, if the Supreme Court decides that a former president effectively retains a shield against criminal accountability, then we have officially transitioned from a republic to an oligarchy. We would be cementing a legal caste system where the political elite are untouchable, while you are subject to the full weight of the state for a broken taillight. This is the economic reality hidden behind the legal drama. It is a dispute over the distribution of rights. Just as we have massive income inequality, we have massive rights inequality. Trump hoarded rights the same way he hoarded real estate. He accumulated more due process, more appeals, and more delays than any 1,000 ordinary defendants combined. We are going to walk through the mechanics of how this sentencing could actually play out, because the economic incentives here are fascinating and terrifying. Usually when a judge sentences a defendant, they look at factors like remorse, the severity of the crime, and the likelihood of reoffending. But in this case, the judge has to calculate the political cost. There is an externalized cost to this justice. The judge knows that applying the law equally, treating Trump exactly like a chaotic, unrepentant felon, will trigger a massive social and political reaction. It is a form of systemic blackmail. The implied threat is, if you treat me like a normal citizen, I will burn down the institution.
Donald Trump saying, quote, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose." Folks, this is a stunning statement. The Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court does not issue statements like this really ever, and especially not against a sitting president. And while this comes after Donald Trump called for the impeachment of Judge James Boasberg simply because he disagreed with his ruling, and while now the Chief Justice is pushing back and rebuking Donald Trump publicly. I'll do a full breakdown on what this means on my Substack in literally minutes, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio. But Republicans on Capitol Hill are already pushing for the Boasberg impeachment. Brandon Gale, a congressman from Texas, has said that he will be introducing articles of impeachment this week. But now the Supreme Court Chief Justice is pushing back. Stunning, truly stunning. Follow along for all the news you need to know about.
This moment, Chris, is worse than Watergate.
You think so?
I absolutely do. Now, I'll tell you why. Because there were people around President Nixon at the time who resisted his worst instincts. We're talking about a bipartisan delegation of congressional leadership who marched down to the White House and told him that what he was doing with regard to an enemies list is wrong. You had an attorney general and others at the Justice Department who resigned as opposed to carrying out President Nixon's vindictive political orders. We do not have that in this administration. That's why this moment, this attorney general is worse than White House, is worse than Watergate.
So,
A federal judge just delivered what legal experts are calling the most devastating courtroom moment in modern American legal history, systematically dismantling Donald Trump's immunity claims in real time while the entire nation watched. This wasn't a written ruling released quietly after hours. This was a judge on live television methodically destroying every single argument Trump's attorneys presented, leaving them stammering, contradicting themselves, and at one point literally unable to answer basic constitutional questions. It's honestly hard to believe what we witnessed today. Trump's lead attorney stood at the podium attempting to argue that a former president has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution, and the judge responded with a question that left the courtroom gasping. So, under your theory, if a president ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, he could never be prosecuted. The attorney hesitated, stumbled, and finally admitted that yes, under their theory, that would be the case. The judge's response was immediate and brutal. That is an absolutely chilling argument that has no basis in our constitutional framework. This isn't just another bad day in court for Trump. We're talking about the complete collapse of his primary legal defense strategy broadcast live to millions of Americans who could see with their own eyes that his arguments don't hold up under even basic scrutiny. And trust me, the implications of this courtroom catastrophe are going to fundamentally reshape Trump's legal and political future in ways that cannot be undone. Let me fill you in on what's been happening. To understand the magnitude of what unfolded today, you need to appreciate what Trump's legal team was attempting to do. Their entire strategy has centered on one core argument that a sitting president cannot be criminally prosecuted for official acts, and that this immunity extends forever, even after leaving office. It's a sweeping claim that, if accepted, would effectively place presidents above the law for any actions taken during their term. The hearing today was supposed to be a routine procedural matter, a chance for both sides to present oral arguments on Trump's motion to dismiss based on presidential immunity. Trump's team expected to make their arguments, prosecutors would respond, and the judge would take the matter under advisement for weeks or months before issuing a written ruling. That's how these things usually work. But Judge Tanya Chutkan had other plans. According to reporters in the courtroom, including coverage from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, and even Fox News, the judge came prepared with questions that exposed every weakness in Trump's position. She didn't just listen passively. She engaged, challenged, and ultimately demolished the defense's arguments in a way that left observers stunned. The hearing began with Trump's attorney presenting the standard immunity argument. He cited separation of powers, the unique nature of the presidency, and the potential for politically motivated prosecutions if former presidents could be charged. These are the arguments legal scholars have debated for decades. They're not frivolous on their face. Now here's the kicker. The judge immediately zeroed in on the logical implications of absolute immunity. She asked whether, under the defense's theory, a president who ordered the murder of a political opponent could be prosecuted after leaving office. Trump's attorney tried to dodge, suggesting that impeachment would be the appropriate remedy. The judge pressed harder. But what if the president wasn't impeached? What if his party protected him? Could he ever face criminal consequences? The attorney's answer sent shockwaves through the courtroom. He acknowledged that under their theory, the answer would be no. A president who committed murder in office and escaped impeachment could never be criminally prosecuted. The judge let that answer hang in the air for a moment before responding. According to multiple reporters present, Judge Chutkan stated that this position is utterly inconsistent with the foundational principle of our democracy, that no person is above the law. She noted that the Constitution contains no language granting presidents permanent immunity from criminal prosecution. She observed that the framers, who had just fought a revolution against a king, would never have intended to create an elected monarch immune from legal accountability. The judge didn't stop there. She went through Trump's specific arguments one by one, rejecting each in turn with detailed legal reasoning delivered from the bench. She addressed the claim that the impeachment judgment clause requires impeachment before prosecution, calling it a misreading of constitutional text and history. She addressed the argument that prosecution would chill future presidential decision-making, noting that the prospect of accountability might actually encourage presidents to stay within legal bounds. Most devastatingly, she addressed Trump's claim that his actions on January 6th were official presidential acts protected by immunity. According to the Washington Post's courtroom reporting, the judge stated that attempting to overturn a democratic election and remain in power despite losing is not an official act of the presidency. It is the antithesis of the president's constitutional duty to faithfully execute the laws. Now, this isn't the first time Trump has faced courtroom setbacks, but what makes this different is the public, dramatic, and comprehensive nature of the defeat. Just think about the previous immunity ruling from the Supreme Court. That case was decided through written opinions released on a predetermined date, with the public learning the outcome through news reports and legal analysis. It was significant, but it was abstract. Most Americans didn't read the actual opinion or understand the nuanced legal reasoning. This was different. This was television. This was drama. This was a federal judge in real time asking Trump's attorney whether presidents can commit murder without consequences, and watching him admit the answer was yes. That's the kind of moment that cuts through partisan noise and reaches voters who don't follow legal proceedings closely. Then there's the pattern of how Trump's legal arguments have fared across his multiple cases. In the classified documents case, his claims that he declassified everything were contradicted by recordings of his own voice. In the Georgia election interference case, his claims of First Amendment protection were rejected by multiple courts. In the New York fraud case, his claims of executive immunity.
A federal appeals court has ruled that President Donald Trump illegally used emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs on almost every country on Earth. The ruling from the US Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit found Trump overstepped his authority under an emergency powers law, a major legal blow that largely upheld a decision made in May by a specialized federal trade court. But the court did not strike the tariffs down immediately, leaving them in place for now and allowing Trump's administration until mid-October to appeal to the Supreme Court. And Trump has vowed to do just that, posting on his social media platform that if it was allowed to stand, the decision would literally destroy the United States of America.
Trump has broken states' laws, federal laws, constitutional laws, international laws, and saying certain Dems should be in jail.
So former special counsel Jack Smith is back, and he is going on the offense at Republicans, telling them release the tape. Jack Smith sat for a 9-hour deposition recently to discuss his investigations into Trump with the House Judiciary Committee, and when the committee asked him to testify, he called on them to allow him to do it in public. Well, they refused. So he then sits in for this 9-hour deposition, and he tells the committee about the loads of evidence he had against Donald Trump, and told them point blank that he believed Trump would have been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in trials related to the January 6th case and the stolen classified documents case. Now House Republicans are refusing to release the tape and the transcript of the meeting. So
because they don't want people to know that Trump is guilty. Trump knew that he did not win the election. He knew he did not win the election. And this Frank Smith, this Smith guy knows the truth because he investigated all of that. No, I'm sorry, Nick Piper. You're on the zombie train.
Smith's lawyers just sent a letter to Jim Jordan, who leads the House Judiciary Committee, asking the committee to make it all public, and are once again calling for an open hearing. To me, this is the simplest question. If there's nothing to hide, why not just release the tapes and the transcripts? Why not allow a hearing in public? Personally, I think the answer is quite obvious, but you let me know what you think. Spread the word and follow for more.
Edition. Let's start with accountability. In January, Trump fired 17 independent inspectors general across federal agencies. These are the people whose literal job it is to investigate fraud, corruption, and abuse of power. So, redundant, apparently. A federal judge ruled the firings illegal. Trump ignored the ruling and fired them again, which is a thing you can now do, I guess. Oversight was treated like a suggestion, and the message was unmistakable. Investigate power, lose your job. Next, immigration. In 2025, ICE was authorized to conduct arrests in churches, shelters, and hospitals. Migrants were shackled during deportation flights, prompting Brazil to formally protest the treatment of its own citizens. Temporary protections for Afghan and Ukrainian refugees were stripped away, and DHS openly floated sending migrants to Guantanamo Bay because nothing says routine immigration enforcement like a black site. Then came the power grab. Trump expanded federal authority to deploy force inside states, overriding governors and local control. Legal experts warned this blurred the line between civilian law enforcement and federal muscle.
I have a question for people. Do you honestly believe, because you support Donald Trump, that Donald Trump has not crossed any lines, or Donald Trump has not done any kind of illegal activity? None of the stuff that this president has done is illegal. Do you honestly believe that none of the stuff that the president has done has been illegal? He's been buying silence. Cooperation with investigators is punished. His enemies are punished. This is not speculation. We ain't speculating on this. This is a pattern. The message is unmistakable. He part from Paul Manafort to Roger Stone to Michael Flynn to January 6 people. Pardons were dangled and delivered as tools because now everybody owed Donald Trump for getting him out of jail. Okay? Protect Trump. The message was clear. Ghislaine Maxwell, they're going to pardon that girl. They got her into a better prison. She get to see a dog. She get to be outside. She get to exercise. She get to do all of these things. But you got to protect me. That's what Trump said to her. You have to protect me. That is not governance. He's not worthy of the office that he is in. That is organized corruption, wearing a goddamn presidential pin. Now you have to compare Donald Trump's pardons to Biden's pardons. Okay? The preemptive pardons that Biden did, which Trump and his allies have tried to denigrate. Every person that has heard about Biden's preemptive pardon, they done laughed and said some shit and he doing something illegal. None of that was illegal. The pardons that Biden did compared to the pardons that Trump wanted to do are two totally different things. Two totally different things. They are not the same. Morally, legally, or historically, they are not the same. Biden's pardons were defensive, not self-serving. That's the difference. That's the biggest difference. Biden's pardons for the people that he pardoned were defensive against this lawless president. They were not self-serving like this president's are self-serving. Okay? This president sells pardons. I said this weeks ago that he sells pardons and he should be impeached because he sells pardons. Okay? They're not the same as what Biden done. Biden's pardons were issued to protect individuals who were not accused of crimes but were being openly targeted for political revenge by this president. Listen, they were issued protective pardons because this president said he was going to try to get these people. And what has he done since he's been in office? Every person that was on the investigation team, every person that was a lawyer that worked on Trump's case, he fired. He tried to get put in prison. You sound goofy as hell, Stanley Peacock. I don't understand why y'all be coming over here saying I'm lying. I don't understand that. You people act like you don't know how to read. I swear to God, y'all got the reading comprehension of a fifth grader. I don't understand. You don't have to believe me. That's all you got to do is go read. Just be on some dumb shit for no reason. Don't read. Don't investigate. Just be running their mouth. Keep your dick suckers closed. Keep your dick suckers closed if you don't have any proof about anything. Biden's pardons were defensive. They were not self-serving like this president's pardons are. Trump was not subtle about him saying he was going to retaliate against people who sent or gave him charges or who went after him in the administration. Nobody went after Donald Trump until Donald Trump broke the law. I just showed you what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to get people pardoned ahead of time. They're trying to get the people in that administration pardoned ahead of time because they know they're committing crimes. Because they know they're committing crimes. Because they know they're committing crimes. That's wild to me. They know that they're committing crimes. Okay.
Field is gone.
Hold on.
Was different.
Dems.
Get past her.
Power no longer bothers pretending it's embarrassed. Inspectors fired, courts ignored, immigration brutalized, the environment stripped.
It's a political newspaper.
Friends pardon, brand slapped on anything that doesn't run fast enough. And somehow, after every firing and every grift and every pardon, they're still going to blame immigrants, woke teens, and a wind turbine in Ohio. I'll see you in 2026.
Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in American history. He's using the White House to enrich himself and his family, to obstruct justice, and to reward his friends and sycophants. But it doesn't have to be this way. Republicans just need to stand up to Trump. No more excuses. Let's start by calling out his crypto grift. Trump's crypto ventures, World Liberty Financial, and Trump Meme Coin have generated more than $800 million cash and allowed Trump to double his net worth. The ethical concern.
He did go to jail, Black America. Hunter Biden did go to jail. What are you talking about? He did get sentenced. He did get convicted. What do you mean?
Glaring.
No, that's the problem with you, Gregory Filippo. You stay in the right wing media chamber and you don't never hear any of the real news. You hear garbage. Trump doesn't even. Do y'all see this zombie talk right here, y'all? Do y'all hear the zombie talk? Trump doesn't even collect a paycheck. Do you hear the zombie talk? Do you hear yourself? Do you be hearing yourself, Gregory? Your president is selling pardons to the highest bidder. Do you be selling yourself? Do you be listening to what you say? You sound dumb as hell. You sound dumb as hell. The rest of us know that the president sells pardons. Where you been?
Ventures attracted investments from foreign nationals and entities seeking to curry favor with the Trump administration.
No, ain't no narrative, Goofy. Go look it up. Stop being in my chat. Get the hell out of my chat and go do research and find out. Goofy, you're a joke. Man, some of y'all are a joke. For real. Look, Google is everybody's friend. Google is everybody's friend. And you can go Google, you can go Grok, you can go Gemini, you can go Amazon, you can go anything that you want to. Anything that you want to. And it'll still say the same thing that I'm saying. Y'all goofy, and you zombies.
And And the Wild West nature of the crypto industry makes these pay-to-play deals a lot harder to track. And if that isn't concerning enough, Trump is also using presidential powers to pump up the crypto industry and his buddies. Since becoming president, Trump has eliminated critical investor protections. He's dismissed enforcement actions or investigations into crypto companies that have supported him. And he continues to undermine the Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and other agencies responsible for tracking bad actors. Trump is using his office to make huge riches for himself and his children, all while everyday Americans continue to struggle just to pay for groceries and electricity. Then there are the serious concerns surrounding his dealings with foreign entities. Earlier this year, the Qatari government offered Trump a luxury Boeing jet. He accepted the foreign gift with no regard for the ethical, legal, or security concerns. He wants to use this gift as the new Air Force One while he's in office, but when he leaves, he'll keep it for personal use after the American taxpayers have paid to retrofit the plane up to Air Force One's security standards. Responsible estimates suggest this is going to cost us, taxpayers, upwards of $1 billion. That's right. Donald Trump wants taxpayers to pay for a jet that will ultimately become his personal property. Democrats in the Senate led an effort to stop this waste of taxpayer funds, but Republicans blocked the effort. And this isn't the only foreign relationship Trump is leveraging for personal profit. Trump and his family.
Yes, he was convicted of taxing federal gun charge. That's the only. Those are the only charges that he had against him, Black America. Yes, of course he don't have to go to jail. He was still convicted. He didn't get pardoned until later, Black America. He didn't get pardoned until after he got sentenced. A full, a year and a half after he got sentenced. Read it. Y'all got to go read. Y'all got to do research. Y'all can't just be on here screaming about you don't know what you talk. Y'all can't be on here talking about you don't know what you're talking about. Specifically when you don't know what you're talking about.
We continue to negotiate real estate and licensing deals in Saudi Arabia. Since Trump was elected, at least 4 Trump-branded developments have been announced in Saudi Arabia. This is in addition to many more deals before his elections. Trump is earning vast sums of money from Saudis. And what do they get out of it? F-35 fighter jets, America's best and most advanced fighter jet. Our intelligence community.
He got convicted, but he didn't get jail time. Just like Trump got convicted for those 34 felonies and didn't get jail time, Hunter Biden didn't get jail time. He got convicted, but he didn't get jail time.
He has warned that this is a terrible idea, but it's the least Trump could do to pay them back. These are just a few examples of Trump and his administration working to enrich the Trump family, administration members, and prominent supporters and donors. It's the worst corruption our country has ever seen. But it doesn't have to be this way. Congress must absolutely investigate this blatant corruption and enact reforms to restore accountability and integrity to the presidency. All of this is possible, but only...
No, that's the problem, David Tatrone. The regular people who knew were on the left side. And most of them didn't like Kamala. But most of them didn't think it was going to be as bad as it is. These are the people that are speaking up now. And the people who voted for Kamala are speaking up now. And the people who didn't speak up are speaking up now. The people who sat at home are speaking up now. The people who voted for him, who found his policies trash, where he wasn't going to do anything for them, those people are speaking up now. Nobody held back on anything. Y'all know we didn't want him from jump. The bulk of the people did not want this president. Please be clear. Nobody never liked Trump.
If Republicans are willing to do something about it and stand up to Trump, please, my Republican colleagues, no.
Half of y'all who voted didn't even know who y'all were voting for. Y'all were just voting because y'all sheep and you follow one behind the other. My buddy, he 18, he gonna vote for Trump, so I'm gonna vote for Trump. He say vote for Trump because Trump is cool, man. Trump is a man's man. Trump ain't no girl, man. That's how you got that many people to vote for him. And people like Joe Rogan, people like Charlie Kirk, people like that encouraging them to vote for Trump, even though he didn't do nothing for y'all, ain't did nothing for y'all.
More excuses.
There's a reason Donald Trump keeps ignoring the law.
I'm happy for you. You got a shitty ass president, Wayne. I'm happy for you. Soon to be out the door, Wayne. Go ahead.
He's like any kid who learns that there are no consequences. He's going to keep doing whatever he feels like doing until he's got to pay the price. And he has enablers. Maybe the president's most significant enabler is the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. The Attorney General is supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer of the country, and that means he or she is supposed to stand above and away from partisan desires and focus on making sure the law gets followed. Instead, Pam Bondi's out there posting on social media about how great everything Donald Trump does, even when it's blatantly illegal. The illegality has gotten so extreme that the Supreme Court, including all 3 of the justices that he appointed in his first term, had to get up in the middle of the night to issue an order prohibiting him from continuing to deport Venezuelans to El Salvador. And he's still...
Y'all hear that? The Supreme Court had to get out of bed and issue an injunction against this president because he was doing the illegal shit of sending people to CCOT. Man, I hate repeating shit that is in the news, that is simple for people to look up and understand. They're starting to crack down on the bullshit because this president is doing too many illegal things.
Still not stopping. There's actually an institution within the Department of Justice. It's called the Office of Legal Counsel, or the OLC for short. And for decades now...
Hold on. The SCOTUS just recently ruled that Trump is against deploying National Guard because it's against the law. It's against the law. These people don't understand what he's doing is unlawful. A lot of what he's doing is unlawful. And he's trying to rule through executive orders. You cannot rule through executive orders. Sooner or later, you're going to run up against illegal things. Unfortunately for you, Bill Fanning, that's not going to happen.
It has had the job of checking on everything the executive branch was going to do of any importance before they do it to make sure it does, in fact, comply with the law as it stands. OLC lawyers tend to be the smartest lawyers you can meet anywhere. They're extremely nonpartisan, and they do a really good job of trying to analyze the legal issues and saying no to the president a meaningful amount of the time. Now, all that would spell disaster for Donald Trump's practice of just doing whatever he feels like. And so Donald Trump has massively sidelined the OLC to the point where veterans of the OLC have basically thrown up their hands and said, the OLC as we know it is no longer playing its historical function of keeping the president on the legal course. Trump has also mastered a spin move that I gotta say is pretty impressive. When he does something illegal, he gets criticized, including by the courts. His supporters then say, look, he's the most criticized and maligned president of all time. So he's actually turned his own ability to do something illegal into a reason for his sympathizers to support him more.
Of course they're going to support him more. They're zombies. The whole point is he's done things that are legal. We see that they're illegal. Other people think, oh, he's a man's man. He's doing what he's got to do. Yes, he's a complete asshole. It is what it is. The whole point is Obama deported people the right way, Bill Fanning, not this way. Different ways to deport people, Bill Fanning. Your president is doing it the illegal way. That's the difference. The illegal way. We don't mind deportation. We mind the illegal way. Know the difference between illegal and legal? Deporting people without due process, that's illegal.
According to 3 separate sources inside of Donald Trump's White House, the President of the United States is apparently already trying to figure out how he can pardon members of his administration so that, of course, nobody goes to jail once they all leave office. Now, this is probably the least shocking piece of news that I have ever reported in the history of ever. Because we all knew this was going to happen. I mean, this is something we've talked about in the live streams. I have seen people say it. I've gotten emails like, Trump's just going to pardon everybody. We know this. We absolutely knew that this was going to happen, but what we didn't necessarily foresee
was that not even a year into his first term, there's already been multiple different discussions inside the Trump administration of giving everybody a pardon. Not only is this an indication, and proof, I should say, that they know they've been breaking the law, but I think it's also an admission that we got a lot more law breaking coming in the future. Let me read you this. 3 Trump insiders told the outlet Zateo that Trump has said they had to pardon members of his inner circle and that it's, quote, a good idea to do so before he leaves office. The conversations have been sporadic, they said, but have involved the president, senior aides, and federal appointees. Trump's inner circle has already begun positioning a defense, the sources said, saying, quote, Biden did it. And yes, Biden did do it. And we said at the time, it's fair game. Obviously, Trump is going to do the same thing. And when he eventually does it, he's going to say, well, Biden did it. And you can go back and watch the segments I did both here and Ring of Fire at that time. Everybody called it. Everybody knew that that is exactly what Trump was going to do. So again, none of this necessarily is shocking, other than the admission we know we're probably going to be prosecuted. We know they're going to come after us. We know we've done things that could end up in convictions. I have to get these people pardoned ASAP. That's what is shocking to me, is that these conversations could wait, right? Maybe do it as people resign or get fired. But to already be having these discussions, I mean, we don't know when these happened. They could have been.
Trump breaks the law nearly once a week, so here's just a fraction of what he's done this year alone in under 2 minutes. Buckle up. January 20th, he tried to cancel birthright citizenship. In doing so, he violated the 14th Amendment and over a century of Supreme Court precedent. January 24th, he illegally fired 17 federal watchdogs without warning. This is a direct hit to oversight laws and the Constitution's duty clause. January 27th, he withheld congressionally approved aid, which is literally banned by the Impoundment Act. February 18th, he forced independent agencies to obey the White House. That breaks the law twice, once through overreach and again through abuse of power. March 21st, he stripped lawyers of security clearances for investigating him. That's retaliation and a First Amendment violation. March 25th, he demanded citizenship proof for voter registration. That's voter suppression and violates federal election law. April 2nd, massive illegal tariffs bypassing Congress. April 10th, people were deported without due process, even those whom had legal status under certain programs, such as Children Here for specialized medical care. April 11th, he ignored a judge's order to return someone deported illegally. That's obstruction of justice by the president himself. April 15th, Trump and JFK took $100 million from Big Pharma. The very next day, they pushed policies that helped drug companies profit. That's bribery, conspiracy, ethics violations, the whole works. By May, he accepted a $400 million plane from Qatar. That's a blatant emoluments violation. He also pardoned a donor's son after a $1 million fundraiser. In June, he federalized California's National Guard without the governor's consent and defied a court order to stop. That's illegal use of military and contempt of court. Then he publicly ordered ICE to target Democrat cities for mass deportations. He literally used federal law enforcement to punish political opponents. That's retaliation, discrimination, abuse of power. Then in the days that came after, the arrest of New York City's mayoral Democratic candidate just for asking to see a warrant. And yes, he promoted Trump Mobile and Trump sneakers from the presidential platform. That's illegal self-enrichment and conflict of interest while in office. Follow me on my Substack for a complete breakdown and detailed list of all of Trump's legal breaches this year in my link tree and bio. This isn't a joke. This is a sitting president violating the law nearly every single week. We need accountability. Share this and get the word out.
This is going to be a really long video, and I'm begging you to listen to this because we're not talking enough about these Trump pardons. So I took the liberty of going to the government website and looking up every single pardon that Trump has pardoned beyond the J6ers. Now, he did pardon 1,500 J6ers, many of which have violent criminal records on top of the violence and criminal activity that they exhibited on January 6th. But I'm not going to talk about those. These are just all of the other pardons that he's granted. And if you want to look up this information yourself, you can. It's justice.gov/pardon/clemency-grants-president-Donald-J-Trump-2025-present. And I'm going to sum it up at the end. It might be a part 2. We'll see how fast I can get through this. But I will sum up in the end how much money we have lost in restitution and fines, mostly restitution. Over 90% of the funds are restitution funds. That means that victims are not going to get paid for the crimes that were committed against them. And some of them were really fucking heinous. I'm also going to talk about the number per category, and I'm also going to talk about the amount of time in prison sentences that have been completely commuted. So 99% of the people who should be serving their sentences are now walking around free. Okay, so let's get started because there's a lot to go through. Okay, Russ William Albrecht, he was convicted of drug trafficking. He was the founder of Silk Road, which was a black market money laundering drug marketing scheme. Staff that were involved in wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, taxpayer fraud. They created a fake mail company to obtain funds that were allocated from printing and mail services just to be funneled to them directly instead. Okay, I'm going to pin this and I'm going to make a part 2 and I'll pin that one too.
Trump's pardoning scheme that's going to get him in jail, guaranteed. I'm going to give you 3 walk-through steps, and then I'm going to share a little insider secret to this in the pathway from the loss of presidency to him going to jail. Let's get started. Number 1 is that this scheme was set up from the moment he got into office the first term. Basically, the way the scheme works is that they give some money somewhere, whether it be a campaign, whether it be a bank, whether it be cash. And that's why that whole Epstein stuff is dangerous too, because there are literally trillions of dollars moving around, and some of that is Trump scheme money. Now, let me break down when I say this. There's several grifts he has going. But this time, Trump 2.0 is doing it through the meme coin. So let me break down number 2, which is how is he doing it? Meme coins. People who are giving money through meme coins, who are lobbying and giving that money. $1 million plus is the price for getting them out the door. That's why we know Diddy's going to get out sooner or later. The money is going to be, he's going to tax Diddy's ass, but Diddy's going to get out. Diddy's going to get out. He ain't serving full time. And some of these other people are going to get hit too. So let's break it down. Basically, he puts money.
You do? KED, you do? Because I'm trying to figure out why you come over here and talk dumb shit if you can get it from another channel. Because if you can get it from another channel, you wouldn't be talking dumb shit. You'd be on my side because you would understand that what I would be saying or I would be expressing would be the truth. Because apparently you don't look at MSNBC or CBS or anything else. Because otherwise you wouldn't be talking dumb shit. You would know it would be the truth.
Money in the meme coin. They loan the money out the meme coin, which is tax-free because loans tax-free. And they're grifting all of their other money that they make from, their cash flow on a monthly, yearly basis pays for those loans. And sometimes it depends on the accrual. The growth of their assets, sometimes the growth of the assets itself pay the loan off without them having to pay the loan. So the loan gets taken care of, but they're pulling money through the meme coin, totally legal. But what's illegal is paying that money in that meme coin with the purpose and intention of doing this, which brings me to number 3, and then I'm going to start dropping bombshells. Number 3 is that basically it's traceable. It's traceable, y'all. I mean, I'm sorry. It's traceable. It is traceable. What I'm trying to tell all of you is that this money can be traced everywhere. Why? Because it's the blockchain. What's the blockchain? Basically, that was the purpose of crypto money. See, before the blockchain, before crypto money, all they did was hide the money through the banks and through every other means. But crypto means it's a public ledger knowing where the money went so you couldn't fuck stuff up. It wasn't.
Because that's why Donald Trump had people invest in his crypto. Because it's legal, it's right there out in the front, but it's still a grift that he's profiting from.
Designed to hide money, it was designed to show money. That's what the creator of Bitcoin did. And I want you to understand that everything they're doing is being traced, even if they think the people they're putting the money in the meme coin for is an anonymous source. No, you can find it. That's the thing that's crazy with this pardoning scheme, because everybody knows it's going on. It's going on right in our faces, and He's a trace line directly to jail. Now let me drop some bombshells to you. Obviously, it's not just a pardoning. The tariffs, that's why the Supreme Court's going up against him. He's like, yeah, we know what you're doing. Basically, the tariffs up and down are the bombshell. The other bombshell.
Cash for clemency. That is what the Wall Street Journal is calling what Donald Trump is doing. He's not pardoning people because they were, actually innocent. He's not pardoning people who've learned their lesson. He's not pardoning people who's already paid restitution. In fact, he's pardoning people and wiping out the restitution that they owe to their victims. You see, Trump and any other president are allowed to pardon whoever they want for whatever reason they want. What they're not allowed to do is sell those presidential pardons for personal financial gain. That is an impeachable offense, and while we're sitting here watching it actually take place in front of our eyes, there are also people being irreparably harmed financially and mentally by these pardons. His most recent one, the founder of Nikola, the judge hadn't even calculated the almost $660 million in restitution to his investors before Trump pardoned him and wiped out any chance these people would get in restitution.
So Trump is pardoning these people, and he's wiping out the debt that they owe. So if they have scammed all of the people or the American people, they still get to get their debt wiped out. And make it make sense that he wants to allow them to wipe the debt out, but he won't allow anybody to wipe out any of the student loan debt. Make it make sense, y'all.
Lobbyists are being paid more than $6 million, according to the New York Times, just to get in front of this White House to lobby for a pardon. And it comes as, according to the Daily Beast and others, we're now learning that Trump's recent pardon of that drug trafficker, the former Honduran president, his team didn't even know it was happening. Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, completely blindsided.
So in 2025 alone, Trump has pardoned over 1,800 people, a lot of those being the J6 rioters. But to the surprise of no one, now some of these pardons do go through legal channels, but another approach that has been emerging is the pardon shopping industry. Basically, the going rate being $1 million to lobbyists in hopes of getting you a pardon. And in some cases, is up to $6 million if the deal is closed. Now, here is a list of people that have been pardoned in the most recent months. This includes pardoning former Honduran president Juan Hernandez, who was convicted of conspiring with the cartels to ship 400 tons of cocaine to the U.S. It also includes a Texas Democrat, Henry Cuellar, who was convicted for accepting foreign bribes in the upwards of $600,000. I guess this is what happens when you move a criminal organization into the White House.
That's exactly what happens. It's an abuse of the office, obstruction, fraud, election interference. These are not hypothetical things that this president has done. You can say TDS all you want to, quantum twist. Your president is shitty and he's illegal. And he's shopping around for pardons for the people. Okay? People keep saying, oh, Biden did it, Biden did. There's a distinction between Biden's pardons and Trump's pardon. Trump's pardons are not about preventing justice. That's the whole point. It's not about preventing justice. They're about preventing accountability for all of these people. His allies are not being targeted unfairly. They're being investigated for real conduct, obstruction, fraud. These are not hypotheticals. These are not TDS. These are not delusional libertard problems. These are not hypotheticals. That's wild. That's wild. These are documented actions examined by courts, prosecutors, and bipartisan investigators. Just because you think they come from the left, your president is shady. When Trump talks about pardons right now, he's not talking about mercy or healing or this is injustice. He's talking about leverage. He's talking about money. He's talking about protecting people who helped undermine our democracy. He's talking about ensuring that no one around him ever faces any kind of consequences so long as they stay loyal to him. That's why Nicki Minaj got her black ass up there in TP USA so she can get a pardon or she can get her husband out of jail. Stop it. Everybody knows that he pays for pardons. Everybody knows that this president is corrupt. It's over. We know he's corrupt. This is the logic of the authoritarian regimes. These are not constitutional republics. Let's be clear. Selling pardons, whether for money, favors, or political loyalty, is itself an abuse of power so fucking profound it strikes at the heart of the rule of law. It turns justice into a marketplace. It tells Americans that laws, goofy people in the chat who don't believe in the law and order. I don't even understand how y'all call yourself believing in law and order. It tells Americans that laws apply only to us poor people. The good stuff only apply for the people who got the rich people who got money. That's not law and order. That's a two-tier justice system, and none of y'all like that shit when it goes against you. Trump defenders, like the goofies in the chat, want to pretend this is all, it happens all the time. It just happened all the time. It's all about whether the president is the public trust or personal shield. Okay. Trump uses pardons to escape the consequences of abuse he has already committed. That's why he's trying to do pardons right now. He's trying to get preemptive pardons. Okay. That's what he's trying to do right now. Get preemptive pardons for everybody in the White House. This is why the everything was legal defense collapses under its own weight. Black America, everything is legal collapses under its own weight. If it were true, pardons wouldn't be necessary. If it were true. If it were true, witnesses wouldn't need to cooperate. If it were true, Trump wouldn't be so obsessed with immunity, loyalty tests, and rewriting the history of the past. The scramble for pardons is the clearest admission, yet the crimes occurred and that those closest to Trump know about it. It's not left versus right. It's about whether power answers to the law or the law bends power. Biden's pardons attempted to preserve democratic norms under threat. Trump's pardons aim to erase the consequences of people's actions. History will not confuse the two. Believe that. Believe that. History will not be confusing the two.
And they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know them very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen. Yes.
Are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of.
Right now, the MAGA base, the Republican base is split among people who think this man right here on the right has more influence on Donald Trump than any person in the planet. That this person that is right on the right hand of Donald Trump is a puppet and he's running Donald Trump. And Donald Trump don't know how to put America first. As long as we are doing the bidding of Israel, we're doing the bidding of other countries, doing the bidding of Argentina, we are not putting America first. This is what a lot of people think. He's not putting America first. Because every time this man right here on his right ask him to do something, Donald Trump is right there trying to do it. I don't care what you say. These people are committing genocide on those Gaza people over there. You ain't gonna gaslight me. You're not gonna turn it around. We saw the pictures. We know that you're over there starving those people, and then you're making it seem as though you have a right to defend yourself. Now, you have a right to defend yourself, but then sooner or later, you need to stop. You need to stop doing what you're doing.
Second chances, but no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And
they would have to, it would take years before they could get to what they need to in order to have a nuclear bomb. Come on.
If they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing. And I hope they're not doing it, because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Mr. Trump, because your last remarks regarding the pardon request of Prime Minister Netanyahu, Herzog office told us that you have not talked after the official request of Prime Minister Netanyahu pardon. Can you clarify to us? Did you talk
Which
about
request
it
are you talking about?
with the President Herzog, the Israeli President Herzog? Did you talk with him directly?
President Erdogan?
Herzog, the Israeli President.
So you're talking about pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to say that. No, I think he's going to be in great shape. He's a wartime prime minister at the highest level. He's achieved tremendous success. And I'll say it, if you had 8 out of 10 prime ministers in his position right now, or before right now, maybe, you wouldn't have Israel any longer. Israel would not exist. I'd say two of them would, and 8 of them wouldn't. Those are not good odds. You needed a very special man to really carry through and really help Israel through this horrible jam. These are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with Soleimani. That was really where you mentioned that today, which started with Soleimani. Bad guy, doing bad things, hurting a lot of people, killing American soldiers and other soldiers. But it started right there, would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job, because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me, it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now. So it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
A recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans would be.
I heard that number today. Half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if you were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, They would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of God.
On Wednesday, I'm opening up the panel. On Wednesday, I'm opening up the panel to an open panel where we will lobby back and forth like a semi-small debate. If Republicans and Democrats want to come and get on, I'm a liberal. That's all I'm a liberal. So I need somebody else to be up there. You don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be none of that. I don't do the be on camera thing. So you can come up and are you gonna and I'm gonna give the number to call. I'm gonna do all of that on Wednesday. Okay, on Wednesday. Okay.
A lot. So is Israel, by the way.
That's gonna be at 9 o'clock though.
But I saw that it was a poll. It was actually more than.
That's gonna be at 9 o'clock though, because I won't be able to get back in time to actually do the debate. I'll be back early, but not be able to do the debate.
Half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity, and I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Why wouldn't countries accept them?
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now, we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that.
They don't want to talk about Gaza.
The group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, have you reached a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap.
The Washington D.C. time zone. Like right now, my time is 4:46.
With ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. He was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along. I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah.
I will have 5 topics that we can talk about. Everybody gets an opportunity to discuss what they want and what they need to say about the 5 topics. Everybody gets to say what they need to do on the 5 topics, and then we'll have 2 people go back and 2 or 3 people go back and forth. That's how we'll do it.
Well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists.
No, a progressive tax. A progressive tax.
We don't have a tax. And we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely, because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world, and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with, I know it. And President Erdogan should get a lot of good credit for what he did. He got rid of some very bad people. And, they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria. President Erdogan did it. And we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
Mr. President, about Lebanon.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
The Lebanese government, what is
is not meeting the terms of the ceasefire agreement, has failed to disarm Hezbollah, actually. In your view, should Israel strike the terrorist organization again?
Well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about it. The Lebanese government is at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you think of it, with Hezbollah. But Hezbollah has been behaving badly, so we'll see what happens.
How close are we to another operation of Israel in Iran? You said before the meeting with Netanyahu that you're in support of Israel if the ballistic missile project will take on, and also the nuclear weapon. But after the meeting, after what you know from the intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful.
I could have sworn I told y'all we was going back and we was going to be going back to Syria. It just is what it is. This president is a war president. It is what it is.
Maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah. And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
Evidence that Iran is behaving badly, and what do you mean by that?
This is just what we hear. But usually where there's smoke, there's fire. Have you heard the expression?
What do you mean related to the nuclear capability?
Well, no, I'm hearing that they're not nuclear yet, but maybe nuclear too. The sites were obliterated, but they're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking. So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake. Yeah, please. There's no reason for them to do it.
You notice that he's threatening the other countries, right? Y'all notice that, right? This president who wants to end wars, who doesn't want any wars, is over here threatening other people, other countries. Don't do it. Don't start no shit. He more than likely will go into war again with Syria, with Iran. I think it's Iran or Syria.
Mr. President, is the United States currently open to engaging in bilateral discussions with Tehran? We're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support? Or
Yeah,
something that is
I would.
You would support that?
I would, yes.
Right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, baby, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen. Yes, ma'am.
China's been doing naval exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China?
Well, I have a
about
great
that?
relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it. And I don't believe he's going to be doing it. No, nothing worries me. Nothing.
So
Yeah.
if you're if you're doing naval exercises and air
Well,
exercises,
they've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people.
Sorry.
Horrible for them. Horrible. It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't want that to happen. But they made an agreement that they were going to disarm. And you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, let us do it for you if they don't. Countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm. And now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel. You know, we have many countries, 59 countries that are in agreement. This is a real peace in the Middle East. And Hamas is a small part of it, but it's still a part of it. But we have 59 countries that signed on, big countries, countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They want to go in and wipe out Hamas. They don't want Israel. They don't need Israel. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do, because they were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas.
Y'all see he's making the case to wipe Gaza and the people off the map. You see him making the case for the genocide that's happening in Hamas, in Gaza as we speak. You know he's making that case, right? This big gigantic Israel is continuing to bully and push the Gazan, the Palestinian people into a corner where they're not interested in a peace deal. Israel is not interested in a peace deal. Israel is only interested in wiping the map of Palestinians off the planet. And that's what they're doing so far. That's what they're doing so far. And this president has been helping them do just that.
Yeah.
President Trump, do you think that the PA should be involved the day after in Gaza Strip, even in the near future? And the same question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, Mimi.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks, open up, a different society and a different future. If they do it, well, let them, I think it was clear. He put
Pretty clear.
He put guidelines that were, by the way, in the Trump plan of 2020. And they were put then in the 20 points. And it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal. Because other Arab nations, which are great people. I know them very well. I know them all. They're great people. They wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige. I don't want to use the word humiliation because, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake. When they wiped out Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq. And all of a sudden, Iran had the whole Middle East all to itself. But that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore.
Can you tell us
something
about
your plan?
Tell us something about your plan to expand the Abraham Accords. If you can tell us something about your plan to expand the Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham Accords are a great achievement of Jared and everybody. It was one of the great achievements. They'll be expanded.
Stop it. The Abraham Accords was not something that Jared did. It was done under the Biden administration. Oh, wait a minute. Abraham Accord. Wait a minute.
Countries are already talking about expanding it, and they'll be expanded fairly quickly. Yeah, please.
Saudi Arabia, is it still on the table? The normalization.
Saudi Arabia is great. We have a great leader, and a friend of mine, and a friend of a lot of people. Also an enemy of some people, but those people aren't doing so well. No, Saudi Arabia has been very good as far as I'm concerned. They've done everything that we can ask for.
But normalization with Israel is on the
They're getting along
Okay,
great
yeah,
with
okay,
Israel.
I
They
see.
will.
It was the other
And
thing
at some
that
point, they'll
Biden
sign
did.
the Abraham Accords.
Mr. President, we know. So one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah,
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're
I do.
also doing interviews.
Still
so
do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
are you? Is
But
there
in the
any
meantime,
chance?
we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25 points. Think of that. we are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him. It's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful.
Here we go. Here we go. Talking about what the hell you doing. We're in the middle of a summit. Stop it.
Ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years.
No, we haven't.
It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number.
No, we haven't.
And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now it's bigger than I told you. It's
and us American people are paying for it. He keep lying, saying it's being paid for by donors. He's lying about that. Us American people are paying for that. So yes, he's lying for that.
After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone. They call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building, but it's a big project for a tiny fraction.
Stop saying I'm lying. Go get the proof. I got proof. You got proof? Just saying any old damn thing. Just saying any old damn thing.
Of that, we're under budget and ahead of schedule, and they've wanted it for 150 years. Think of it. The Federal Reserve building, 2 buildings there, they don't know what they're doing.
It's not being paid for by donors. It's being paid for by the American people. No, I don't need to prove jack shit. He needs to prove that I lied. I know it's not just being paid by donors.
They're way over budget. I mean, almost, this was built during the Biden administration. And
y'all just believe everything this liar and crook tells you. When you believe everything a liar and a crook tells you, you're the liar and the crook too. That's wild. No, that's wild. None of them go do no fact check. Just be talking.
I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election. He was too early because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these are an outstanding.
Whoa. This is news? Are we making news again in the middle of a goddamn conference? He's talking about suing Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve. Huh? Oh my God. He said he's thinking of suing or sanctioning Jerome Powell. That's wild.
Buildings. He said $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats. Highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross.
How do you even open your mouth and say you're going to sue the Fed or mess with the Fed, the Federal Reserve person? That is an independent agency. You're not supposed to even touch it.
Incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell.
For gross incompetence against Powell? Really? If people don't say the words that he want them to say, then they don't understand. See, and that's half of y'all's problem. When y'all don't get what y'all want said, People don't say what y'all want them to say. People don't keep spouting the lies that this president tell. People don't keep spouting the lies that this president has put on the books. People don't keep spouting the lies that y'all think he's telling the truth of. Then they're incompetent. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't understand life. They don't understand logic. The man just said that he's gonna the man just said Jerome Powell is incompetent. Nobody has accused that man ever of being incompetent. That's wild. That's wild.
And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. There is nothing.
He's just incompetent. That don't even make no sense. That don't even make no sense. That don't even make no sense to me. The Jerome Powell is incompetent. That don't even make sense to me. What's going on with the world? I don't understand what's going on with the world. I don't understand.
His second term, and the patterns are pretty disturbing. So I've made a list of, I've been taking a close look into Trump's presidential pardons during his second term, and the patterns are pretty disturbing. So I've made a list of the top 5 most corrupt pardons so far, at least. First up, we've got Changpeng Zhao, or CZ. He's the CEO and founder of Binance, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world. Zhao was sentenced for failing to stop money laundering on his platform, and he actually served 4 months in jail and was fined $50 million. CZ got his pardon after he helped the Trump family crypto business, World Liberty Financial, take in billions of dollars this year from the United Arab Emirates. Next up is Paul Walczak, a former nursing home executive who was found guilty of tax crimes, which kind of undersells it. Walczak was withholding taxes from his employees' paychecks, but then he wasn't sending that money to the IRS. What he was doing was stealing that money and then using it to do things like buy a $2 million yacht for himself. His pardon came this year after Walczak's mother attended a $1 million a plate dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Trump also recently pardoned the ex-president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez. Hernandez was put in prison for drug trafficking and conspiring with Honduran cartels to smuggle drugs into the United States. Despite Trump's big talk on drug enforcement, particularly when it comes to Venezuela, here he is pardoning someone actually guilty of working with cartels, taking in millions of dollars, and poisoning Americans in the process. And it looks a lot like he did it because longtime political ally and another criminal also pardoned by Trump, Roger Stone, asked him to do it. Then there's Ross Ulbricht, founder of the Silk Road, a darknet marketplace often used for drug trafficking, money laundering, and buying fake IDs, all using cryptocurrency. Ulbricht was actually serving a double life sentence for his crimes. But pardoning Ulbricht was a longtime demand of libertarian and crypto groups that Trump has cozied up to in his second term as he builds his crypto empire. So Ulbricht went free this year. And finally, we've got Trevor Milton, founder of the electric vehicle startup Nikola. Milton was convicted for fraud for falsely claiming to have created a revolutionary electric truck, a truck that never actually existed. He got his pardon this year after he and his wife donated more than $1.8 million to the Trump re-election campaign just a month before the election, which is pretty convenient timing. Trump has already issued more pardons than any modern president at this point in his term, many going to the wealthy, the powerful, and the connected. Pardon is supposed to be an act of mercy or justice, a way for the president to correct the wrongs of the judicial system. But under Trump, it's just another way for him to hand out favors to people he likes, score political points, and get paid.
Pardoned Turkey the other day.
Very important. You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
It's a tradition, but a lot of people find it dumb, myself included. Sasha and Malia Obama infamously didn't love the spectacle when their dad was president. I mean, look at them.
Time flies, even if turkeys don't.
I don't blame them. The reason many people find the turkey pardon empty and meaningless is that there are a ton of actual human beings seeking and awaiting clemency from the president. People who could really use some mercy these days. Their names are a matter of public record. The Justice Department keeps a spreadsheet on its website of all the pending clemency applications. As of this moment, more than 18,000 people are waiting for the president to act. Of those, 15,000 filed their clemency applications this year alone. Worse yet, since Trump took office a second time, he's completely transformed this constitutional power into something that's more like a vending machine, a tool to...
I think what's going to happen is the president is going to pardon all his buddies and all his friends. And when he gets to be walking out the door of the White House, if that's the case, he's gonna pardon all these lowly motherfuckers that didn't give him no money. But for now, the people that are giving him money, he's gonna pardon all of them because they got $1 million. People are selling pardons for $1 million to $6 million. And who's benefiting from those pardons? I don't know.
To reward friends and allies and those who have the connections and the means to get the president something in return. The system is clearly broken. The presidential pardon is broken. You might even say the Constitution is broken. Because if the president can get away with corruptly pardoning cronies, family members, or even co-conspirators, then what are we even doing here? And if thousands upon thousands languish in prison without a real meaningful shot at a second chance, then there's no doubt we live in a two-tier justice system. And don't get me started on the Supreme Court's immunity decision, which effectively and preemptively pardoned the president for a failed attempt to overthrow our democracy.
Well, they took that back, so we ain't got to worry about that. Now Trump got to start stepping real lightly because now they're not trying to hear it. Supreme Court ain't trying to hear it. You ain't got immunity total.
Something's deeply, deeply broken here, and we need to fix it. Before I tell you how things have gone off the rails and how pardons ought to work in a real justice system, I thought I'd give you a quick rundown of how presidential clemency works, and then a lightning-fast history of how we got here. First, the Constitution. In Article 1, Section 2 of the document, it says that the president shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. This is a sweeping power. In practice, it means the president can offer clemency only for federal crimes, not state crimes. That clemency may include full pardons or sentence commutations, which means modifying or shortening someone's punishment. Kind of like when President Biden commuted the sentences of almost everyone on death row. These folks will remain in prison for life, but the federal government won't execute them. That's a form of mercy.
Yeah, that's the difference between Biden and Trump. Trump did it because he's getting paid to do it. People are paying Donald Trump or the people that are around Donald Trump. I knew that the people around Donald Trump were just putting pardons in front of him and he was just signing them and they were just getting money. I just knew that because he don't even know half the people that he's pardoned because people asked him about these pardons. Biden's pardons were mercy. Your president is buying pardons. Your president is selling pardons. There's a big difference. And that makes him a shitty president.
Limitation in the text. The president can't pardon people who have been impeached. The real point of this power is to check the overreach by the other branches, by legislators who create laws imposing draconian sentences, by prosecutors who oftentimes...
Somebody's collecting that damn money. Somebody getting them monies. And it's probably going right back into Trump's pocket. Hey, Trump, you giving out the pardon. And then the people in the White House are lobbying for these pardons. Hey, they got $1 million, sir. They got $12 million, sir. They got $5 million. It's a run-of-the-mill buy and shop.
Seek the longest sentence possible under the law. And even by judges who sometimes get carried away with the punishments they impose. At its most noble, the pardon power is an equalizer. A way to seek mercy after a punishment no longer serves a legitimate purpose. Over time, courts have understood the pardon power to have some limits. You can't pardon someone for future acts. Only past conduct qualifies. The pardon must be accepted by its recipients, or else it doesn't count. And the pardon doesn't erase the record of conviction. It doesn't blot out history. We saw a version of this reality earlier this year when Donald Trump, on his first day back in office, issued a blanket grant of clemency to everyone convicted in connection to the January 6th attack on the...
Well, we understand that every president in Congress has people talk to them about pardons, but not getting paid for those pardons, not paying $1 million for those pardons. That's the big gigantic difference. This is way different. This ain't nothing like nobody else's. Let's be clear. This president is selling pardons.
Capital. At least one woman rejected the offer. And although this blanket show of clemency was outrageous enough, the judges who were then charged with dismissing some of the pending cases at the time made it plain that the fact of a pardon.
Didn't you just hear what I said, Goofy, the snack panther? Didn't you hear me say that he's selling pardons? Selling pardons is different than just pardoning people. Nobody else has sold pardons. This president sells pardons. That's the difference. Come on, keep up now.
Doesn't change what happened. One judge called Trump's announcement of the pardons a revisionist myth. Judges have also resoundingly rejected that you can extend January 6 pardons to other crimes unrelated to the riot or to offenses that arose or were discovered after that investigation. Given that reality, Trump recently had to issue a second pardon to a Capitol rioter who was under investigation for illegally possessing firearms. No comment. And courts.
Y'all didn't hear that Trump went to something about Trump going to jail or something happened about Trump going to court. And they found out that Trump had guns down in Mar-a-Lago. Something, maybe that's just something me. I don't know.
Have not addressed, and I hope they never do, whether a president can issue a self-pardon, which was a big question during Trump's first presidency. He even tweeted about it. Putting all of that aside, the biggest open question for the future and health of our democracy isn't the pardon power itself, which is good, but how to rein in or prevent corrupt pardons, or pardons that so shock the conscience that they shouldn't be allowed. We've had a share of those in our nation's history. From Gerald Ford pardoning Richard Nixon, to Bill Clinton pardoning billionaire Mark Rich, who fled the country before facing the justice system, to Joe Biden pardoning his son, Hunter, before he left office. Devin had some strong words for that last pardon. And of course, the blanket January 6 pardons. Needless to say, the pardon power has been abused. But we'd be remiss if we didn't make clear that this moment feels different and how uniquely.
How is this moment different? Please explain how this moment is different.
Self-serving and more from justice Trump's pardons have been. They're truly unlike nothing in our nation's history.
Sorry to interrupt, but with so many convicted criminals going free, now's probably a good time to wipe all your personal and private information off the internet. Your cell phone number, home address, email address, private social media accounts, and tons of other sensitive data are shockingly easy to purchase by anyone online. But malicious actors can't hurt you if they can't find you. So you can fight back and take control of your private information by signing up for today's sponsor, Incogni. Because Incogni wipes your personal data from the internet.
This was his first pardon ever. The reason that pardon stuck in my craw was not that Trump had just rewarded one of his biggest campaign supporters. That was kind of expected. But the
people that Trump is pardoning, the people that Trump has been pardoning have had criminal records before. They've actually done the crimes. They've actually haven't shown any remorse for the crime. They haven't even had, the ink haven't even dried on their conviction paperwork. This is so much worse.
The fact that he pardoned someone who had just been convicted of criminal contempt of court, not for someone to be charged with a crime for contempt of court, is a really high bar. It's not easy to get there. And in this case, Trump's own Justice Department had prosecuted Arpaio for not following court orders. What orders? You won't believe this, or maybe you will, but a federal judge had ordered Arpaio's Sheriff's Department to not be racist, to not cosplay as federal immigration agents. That is, to not stop and detain people simply because the officers believed that they're here illegally. Now, does that sound familiar? Arpaio directed his deputies to ignore the court, and they went on to illegally detain at least 171 people over 18 months. Think about that.
Nobody but you goofy MAGA people think that the January 6 people did something wrong. Didn't do nothing wrong, just me. Only y'all think nobody did anything wrong. We're not even going to entertain that when we see it on TV every time we get. Okay? Don't try to gaslight us. We know what the hell happened with January 6ers. We saw all of them going to the Capitol. Don't try to gaslight us like they did nothing wrong. We know they did something wrong. You do too.
a law enforcement officer ordered to stop violating people's civil rights, and his response was no?
I don't even understand why we having a conversation about January 6th now when everybody can see what happened on camera. That's wild. We can see what happened on camera. That ain't no walk in the park. We saw people bust into the building. That ain't no walk in the park now.
So the pardon to me stood for the idea that racially profiling people for being Latino is just fine. That you can even ignore a judge who tells you to stop doing that. Devin also has some thoughts about that. Of course, that was only the beginning. In his first term alone, Trump's use and abuse of the pardon power stood out because even then, there was a method to the madness.
Yet they were more consequential, and nobody even remembers the BLM protests. But everybody remembers the January 6th break-in.
The Washington Post described it as a cottage industry. That is, the more powerful and well-connected and wealthy you were, the likely you were to get on the president's radar. And
of course it is. Of course, the more money you got, the simpler. He done did some egregious pardons. This president needs to have this pardon. He needs to take his fucking auto pen away. That's
received mercy. I won't go through the list of all his first-term pardons, but among them were people that helped Trump get elected or who worked for him in the Oval Office. People like Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Steve Bannon, and Michael Flynn. There was Jared Kushner.
All of those people committed stuff guilty, and they were guilty of committing crimes. All of them.
There's dad, Charles Kushner, who, by the way, is now an ambassador. He also pardoned a whole bunch of Republican congressmen, and only men. And who can forget about a group of Blackwater security guards convicted for murdering Iraqi civilians, including children, in what is now known as the Nisour Square Massacre. Now, during Trump's first term, he pardoned a total of 238 people. Pretty stingy, all things considered. But in the first 10 months of his second term, he's already at nearly 2,000. The vast majority of these, by far, are the pardons and commutations for the attack on the Capitol, which included members of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, whom, by the way, he singled out by name in his proclamation, and some of whom were serving lengthy sentences. And like during his first term, there's now what the Wall Street Journal calls a wild west of presidential pardons, one in which the Justice Department is no longer part of the equation, and where having friends or lobbyists in high places is all that matters. This is how Liz Oyer, the career pardon attorney Trump fired for declining to restore Mel Gibson's gun rights, has described the current regime.
I understood that clemency was going to be conducted entirely out of the White House without input from the Office of the Pardon Attorney. This was a departure from over 100 years of practice. The Office of the Pardon Attorney has been sort of an independent advisor on clemency, and this was a major departure from how clemency has always been conducted and from the norms that have generally governed that process.
Which should have told them this was an illegal or it was going to be illegal acts. Did any of the BLM people get pardoned? Just me? Did any of those people get pardoned? Any of those BLM people get pardoned?
What's curious about this new arrangement is that
because if you think that the January 6th people should have been pardoned, then we, on our side, we're going to say the BLM people should have been pardoned. Did any of them get pardoned? Did any of them get pardoned?
The new pardon attorney is someone well known to...
Y'all love to compare stuff. Y'all love to compare BLM to January 6th. Did any of the BLM people get pardoned?
This channel, in part because of his avian nickname, Eagle at Martin, a Trump loyalist who has been behind the political prosecutions of James Comey and Letitia James. By the way, those were recently dismissed. He is now a key figure in this wild, wild west for pardons. Mind you, he got the job after not even Republicans could stomach his nomination to be the top federal prosecutor in Washington. They approved TV host Judge Jeanine Pirro instead, which, don't get me started. After the president pardoned a Trump-loving sheriff in May, Ed Martin posted on X, "No MAGA left behind." The sheriff's offense and sentence, conspiracy to commit bribery, for which he received 10 years in federal prison. What's remarkable about Ed Martin saying the quiet part out loud is that he's making it clear who's eligible for justice and mercy in Trump's Washington. In a post immediately following his No MAGA Left Behind sentiment, Ed Martin posted the text of a bizarre presidential proclamation purporting to pardon everyone involved.
No, I was under the impression that BLM did worse than January 6th. So if BLM did worse than January 6th, BLM should have went to prison. Did BLM go to prison? What happened?
The 2020 fake elector scheme. You know, that thing where a bunch of MAGA loyalists and the states cooked up a plan to serve as alternative electors and thus throw the election to Trump. Among them are Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Jeffrey Clark, and other two-bit players in the bigger plot to overturn the 2020 election.
And those people all went to jail and prison and admitted in court that Donald Trump knew that he had not won the election. And he just wanted to convince his goofy followers, that he wasn't guilty, that he didn't know. Donald Trump knew, he just got y'all convinced that he knew. Kamala Harris ain't got nobody out of jail. Stop lying. Stop putting that shit out there. She ain't said jack shit about no BLM people. Don't be lying about Kamala Harris. Y'all just be saying anything. I know for a fact she ain't paid to get none of them out of jail.
The move is bizarre because it has no force of law. There are no past or present federal prosecutions against these people, and Trump can't pardon state crimes, as I said before. This is how one former public corruption prosecutor at DOJ put this brave new world we're in. A pardon is supposed to be for somebody who has paid his debt to society and is
not from this White House. This White House don't care. As long as you got $1 million, they'll get you out of jail. As long as you got $1 million, he'll get you out of jail.
It's remorseful or to right an injustice is not for the highest bidder. Speaking of, Liz Oyer, the fired pardon attorney, added up the totals in fines and restitution that those offered clemency would have had to pay if their punishments hadn't been wiped away.
Donald Trump has now forgiven over $1.3 billion in debts owed to victims of white-collar crime using his pardon power.
Democratic staff on the House Judiciary Committee came up with a slightly larger figure, $1.3 billion.
Something your president, Hasbani, Surveillance Alliance, something your president should be doing every day with his trifling ass. Every day he should be doing the walk of shame. Every day.
That report is worth reading, if only to get a sense of how much lawlessness and thievery these pardons wiped out. To add insult to injury, many of these people were already wealthy to begin with, or else have been convicted of stealing from the U.S. Treasury or from private individuals. Some of them were proud donors to Trump or other GOP campaigns. And did I mention that Trump is also pardoning corporations? That's right. HDR Global Trading, a cryptocurrency exchange that goes by BitMEX, got a full and unconditional pardon from the president. A legal expert who wrote a book on the presidential pardon wrote that the pardon may have made history because it wasn't given to a person, but to a private entity that's, in essence, a creature of statute, a legal fiction. The pardon effectively wiped out a $100 million fine the crypto exchange got for violating anti-money laundering laws. And since we're talking crypto, the corrupt pardon everyone is talking about these days is the one Changpeng Zhao got. He is the founder of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Under the Biden administration, the government went after him and his company from all sides. The Treasury Department, DOJ, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission all sought to hold Binance accountable for violating laws against money laundering and sanctions.
And yet and still, they were on the list to get pardoned by this president. And this president, somebody gave him the pardon and he put it right in there. That's wild. This is the trashiest president ever.
Here's what Janet Yellen, the former Treasury Secretary, said about what Binance was caught doing. Binance turned a blind eye to its legal obligations in the pursuit of profit. Its willful failures allowed money to flow to terrorists, cyber criminals, and child abusers through its platform. Binance was, as the Wall Street Journal called it, a giant money laundering mill. The company was fined a historic $4 billion plus penalties, and Zhao was prosecuted, convicted, and imprisoned for 4 months for his failure to maintain an effective anti-money laundering program. He was also slapped with a $50 million fine. Peanuts for someone like him. His net worth is reportedly around $80 billion. But then Trump zooped into office, and Zhao, through paid lobbyists, worked hard for a pardon. According to Politico, Binance paid a lobbyist and a hunting buddy of Donald Trump Jr. a whopping $450,000 for 1 month's work of, quote, executive relief. Yet the lobbying, direct or indirect, lasted for way longer than a month. According to the Journal, around the time Trump won the election last year, Binance got to work and formed a task force to strike a deal with the Trump family's growing crypto venture, World Liberty Financial. The goal was to use that deal as leverage for a Zhao pardon. Then this past spring, boom, Binance took steps that catapulted the Trump family's venture's new stablecoin product, enhancing its credibility and pushing its market capitalization up from $127 million to over $2.1 billion. So Binance, in effect, helped make the Trump family richer.
Of course, if they help the Trump family make money and somebody gets into trouble, they're going to pardon them. That's the way it is. Oh, by the way, none of the BLM people got pardoned by Trump. Not now one of them, although every time you turn around, you got people saying, oh, BLM is just like January 6th. But none of those people got pardoned. None of those people at all got pardoned by Trump.
Full Journal report is worth reading in full, just so you get a sense of the depth and breadth of this corruption. The Journal, which is not prone to hyperbole, noted that the pardon marks the most distinct instance yet.
Yes, yet and still, you all seem to bring up the BLM people as though the BLM people got better treatment than the January 6 people. Shut the hell up about the BLM people when your people, your corrupt criminal, stormed the Capitol, did some heinous shit to our house. Your people did shit that was more heinous than what the BLM people did. Yet and still, the BLM people, none of them got pardoned. None of them got pardoned. But that's neither here nor there. This president is corrupt. He's corrupt as hell. It is what it is. President Donald J. Trump used the presidential power in a way that stood out more than anybody else's presidency. Of course he did. While pardons are a legal part of his bag, and he can do that, he often skipped the normal Justice Department review. That tells me right there alone that it was going to be corrupt. He skipped the normal Justice Department review process and made decisions personally by himself. He made decisions to pardon people personally. Many of those pardons came in his late term or after public pressure from media, well-connected supporters, whatever. Kim Kardashian, whatever the fuck. A major pattern with this pardoning is who's ever loyal to him. Who's ever going to pay him the $1 million, the $6 million? Who's ever going to say, bend they knee? Former advisors, allies, people convicted of crimes related to investigations with him, long as they was loyal, long as they loved him politically. Critics argue it's in a message that powerful people can pay for anything. Of course, powerful people can pay for anything. Trump granted pardons to celebrity people, public people that didn't deserve it, drug dealers, you name it, military criminals, war crimes. At the end of Trump's presidency, he had a wave of pardons and commutations. There was no rhyme or reason. He was just letting people get dismissed. Okay, he don't care about what you did and what you didn't do. He don't care about drug dealing. He don't care about the American people. All he care about is getting the money. All he care about is getting the money and pardoning people and enriching himself. Okay, that's all he's concerned about. He's not concerned about anything else other than that. So we can't say that he's an X, Y, and Z. He broke the law. Stephen Clark, I'm just going to say your IQ is 50. If you haven't figured out that selling pardons and doing the other things that he's done is criminal, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. You all hit the like, share, and subscribe button at the top of the chat. Go over and subscribe to that relationship channel that I have. I have about 1,000 videos over there, relationship videos, panel videos. I'm gonna start doing panels over there, relationship panels, having people come over and talk about relationship stuff. So we're gonna start doing panel stuff over there on the channel. At the top of the chat, there's a pin website. Go over there and subscribe, please and thank you, so we can try to get the relationship channel up and running. And that's a whole bunch of videos all over there. Relationship videos gives you a break from talking politics and that kind of thing. At the top of the chat, there is a link to subscribe to the other channel. Please and thank you. Hopefully you guys subscribe to this channel. Please and thank you. We are in perilous times with this president. We are in perilous time. And my understanding is we just hit Venezuela. We just struck at Venezuela. So go read about that. We have struck at Venezuela. It is what it is. We are in perilous times with this president. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate you coming out. Please and thank you. Downing him. Do you see me? That's my whole point. My whole point is y'all got to learn how to read. Y'all got to learn how to read, and you got to learn to get out of your bubble. If you read the same thing over and over again, you never get to hear the truth. You only get to hear what you want to hear. I just don't understand how y'all don't understand that people don't care for this president. But it is what it is. Goofy people gonna be goofy people. You're gonna be on that short bus shit. So it is what it is. Please go over to the other channel, subscribe to the other channel. The other channel has a lot of content, and we will be going live over there, 2 or 3 times a week. Block me with a soy boy fucking waste man. I don't block people, so I don't have no idea what you're talking about. But please, give it no, he didn't win the popular vote. He just won the vote of the people that were there. And you go back and look at the race. Please go back and look at the race. Don't believe me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't believe me. You all hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I appreciate all y'all. Hit the link up at the top. Subscribe, share, like, subscribe, and share. Go over to the other channel and look at the relationship content. We will be going live over there soon enough. At least you'll know the name. The name is the HQ Connect. Go over there and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all. I will be back later. Of course I'll be back later. Of course.